Hello to you, my fellow Dark Ones. How are you guys doing today? How's life? And depending on your mood, I'm either happy or very sorry. But what is the plan for today? We're gonna make a blast furnace. No. Not just any blast furnace, a mega blast furnace. And guess what? We're going to have two of them. As I have already mentioned last episode, by episode 30, I want to hit the UV age. And well, we only have to make Naquadria, make Neutronium, and also make Americium. Two of them are things that we have to do anyways, and Americium is here, so I don't think that's going to take more than 3 or 4 episodes. So this episode for me is going to be a bonus one, and we're going to improve our quality of life. So the Mega Blast Furnace is going to take a tremendous amount of time, and also if you look at the multi-block, that's all the coils we need. And we're not gonna go with copper nickel, obviously. And since whatever I want to do is going to take a tremendous amount of time, I need to do a bit of side projects. So for example, I need a ton of building blocks and I have set patterns for most of them. Because one of the main reasons that I cannot really finish my base is that it takes a lot of time just to make hempcrete, beads or whatever. But yeah, now we can craft it. The problem is chiseling everything. Thankfully in this mod pack, there is something called Industrial 3D Copying Machine. It's an auto chisel, and since I have also automated concrete, we don't need these machines ever again. How do I move that one? 300 stacks. So we don't need the LV machines, let's just throw them away. Yeah, in 1.20 you can break the drawers, they won't drop their content, but here I think you need a tape? Yeah, packing tape. I don't have glue. Yeah, I have a slight shortage of glue, so we just pump it out. Generally speaking, this machine is just amazing, so if you want to order hempcrete, it will craft everything, and this guy will chisel it for you. It was so fast that I missed it. It even blinked right now. Yeah, but it does need a chisel bus, you give it the output and it will chisel it for you. So for a relatively long time, blocks are not going to be a problem anymore. Also, you might notice a bit of deforestation is going on because in between the episodes, I have extended our platform. I need flat land, what can you do? Our next few projects are going to be here and the main one actually concerns ore processing. To be more precise, rare earth. What just happened? I don't like hiccups. Why did that happen? Oh yeah, I have cables here. We have to chunk load it. So until right now, if we wanted to process rare earth, what we had to do was to use a single block dehydrator, which we had it over here, and I also made a better one for our ore processing area. Now we have access to the multi-block. I know that we are missing, a lot of stuff for it, but I just wanted to know what. It's just these little details which make everything irritating. Million patterns later, I think we can make the dehydrator. It's a crazy amount of items, but give me 3. I ran into a bit of a problem with power downstairs and well, let's get to work. Previously we were processing rare earth, however this time we want to process this version of it. It's Mark III, I don't really know. So this chemical reactor that you see over here used to make us circuit boards, now it's not doing that anymore, so we're going to use that. And what we need to do is to make something called sulfuric apatite mix. So we just export apatite and sulfuric acid. I'm assuming this is going to work at IV, so it's going to be relatively fast. Doesn't work. Oh, the other circuit, it's this one. Okay. As a byproduct, we're going to get tiny piles of sulfur. I'm going to void that. And yeah, that's our sulfuric apatite mix. And yeah, it's not that necessary, but for the moment, get an acceleration card. Do it faster. Thank you. That can go inside an ender tank, and we're going to do the rest at our ore processing area. The sulfuric apatite mix that we are making has to go inside the distillation tower, and in return we're going to get different types of acids. The one that we are interested in is this one. It's an industrial strength hydrofluoric acid, and we can use that inside a chemical bath, like so, and that is going to give us the rare earth that we need. One of the things that you might notice is that we have 2 IV energy hatches, therefore the distillation tower is working at LUV. However, we're getting it at this rate, which is garbage. It's 142.9 millibuckets per second, and well, I can't really go faster than this at this very moment. There is a recipe for doubling that inside the chemical plant using more hydrofluoric acid, but I can't really do that. Because of Naquada, I don't actually produce enough fluorine, so that's what we have. And that's it. Once I have solved the fluorine issue, we might do that. Regarding the other fluids, I'm not actually going to recycle them, get my sulfur back or my oxygen back, because if you guys remember, the way that we're making sulfuric acid is through a chemical plant. We are using different types of algae and we are producing this type of algae actually faster than we're consuming it, as well as distilled water. And again, remember, power is also free. We're using solar panels and a teeny tiny bit of magic over there, for distilled water. One of them is off. Okay, it's full. Another problem that we have is that I don't think our chemical bath can handle this thing, because it's also taking in sulfuric acid, right? Yeah, we are going to get the wrong recipe. It will give us this rare earth. By mistake, yeah, I made an ore washing plant. It wasn't actually a mistake. I wanted to get hydrogen and I made a horrifying boo-boo. It was at the time that I wanted to set up our electrolyzers over here, which are making us hydrogen and oxygen. My stupid plan was to use sodium and water in order to get hydrogen and sodium hydroxide and then electrolyze that one. But as it turns out, it was exactly the same as water, so I'm just using water. But long story short, we have an ore washing plant and it will fit within the chunk. And just in case you're wondering, I'm trying to hide the airy biome. I already broke the node. Well, apparently everything was almost set. We had some rare earth in the system and it kicked in our ore processing plant. In our own base, we have like 10,000 of it. So what do we want to do with this? I think erbium should have a use somewhere. Let's centrifuge it. Everything is part of the ore processing network. I'm using a wireless connector. We get erbium, which we will send it back into our main system, and we get the centrifuge crushed version. So how do we get more out of it? I guess literally nothing. We just macerate it. 12.5 seconds at IV. I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming we have enough IV amps over here. So let's add one more energy hatch. Why not? We make it run at LUV. The timing is the same, it's just that we're getting quadruple the output. I don't really have a choice, we live with that, but that's what we want. And now that has to go inside a dehydrator. I have assembled some dehydrators. They have two functions. One of them is a vacuum furnace, the other one is a dehydrator. And when it's not a vacuum furnace, the coil doesn't really matter. I had tons of nichrome, I'm using that one. So our dust goes inside one of them, and if we turn it on, lovely. We're gonna get a bunch of garbage. 9 to be exact. But in any case, now we have to handle each and every one of them, and yeah, this is a super bus. So let's start with gadolinite. That inside another dehydrator is going to give us cerium, which is not that bad, erbium, lanthanum, neodymium, yttrium, gadolinium, beryllium, and silicon. I'm gonna avoid the oxygen, I don't really care. And none of the items that we are getting from this recipe are going to be further processed, so they can go back into our own system. So one output bus, and I guess an ender chest on top. That should work. Did we even get it? No, it's off. Yeah, now we're getting it. Perfect. It doesn't have enough fluid output, so we put you on voiding fluids. Is it gone? Yeah. Well, this one has a weird name, but it gives us uranium and a bunch of other garbage. Honestly speaking, I don't really care about the oxygen and hydrogen. It's negligible anyways. Yeah, it worked. It's so fast, you can't see anything. Then we have something called fluorescite, and this is actually the main reason I notice all of these recipes. It gives you phosphorus and samarium. Well, the samarium more concentrate, but it's almost for free. But that one has to go inside an electrolyzer, so we send it back into our ore processing somewhere. There's a sheep. Okay. Are things happening so fast that I don't even notice them, or is there like... Oh, okay, it's processing it. Just once, so that I can make sure. I think it turned on. Okay, we know it works. The next one I'm not even going to try and read, but it gives us fluorine, calcium, and more phosphorus. And cerium, okay. This guy I think is also a bit important, yeah. That had to go inside the dehydrator, and well, since fluorine is important for me, I have the same ender tank that I have at our ore processing. The rest of them, however, are just to be electrolyzed, so let's make filters for them. What we are getting over here is a bit more important. Ignore the silicon dioxide, we always get that, but we get iodine. It's a bit of a pain to make and we are getting it for free, and you need that in order to extract hafnium from the monazite line. I needed that last episode and it was a pain. Oh, germanium. And if I'm not wrong, we are taking care of everything, right? Yeah, there's nothing left. So in our system we have plenty of rare earth, and that's great. Let's process all of them. Our new plant is operational. I try to cover it as best as I can, however we do have an urgent problem that I have to address. So I can't really work on the details right now, but before we go to our own base and address the situation, we need to upgrade the capacitor. Currently our capacitors are EV, we need to upgrade them at least to IV. And please ignore the fact that I'm carrying the wrong glass and this one takes ages to break. On a very positive note, I'm hoping we are going to break at least a 5x5. I just wanted to mention that I can break bedrock with my pickaxe. This is irritating. Finally. We are using more and more machines. It does make sense to upgrade the capacitors. Well, I made the same number. Cool. we're good. Yeah, that's almost 10 times the capacity. I'm happy with this. So let me try to explain to you the problem. I wanted to make an energy buffer, it's IV, and it was quite expensive. And I think crafting it took like 3 hours, and there is one reason for it. So maximum over here, we can make 2 LUV amps or so, and our capacitor can handle 1 ZPM amp, or 4 amps of LUV, but you get the gist. So let's count. That is LUV, that is LUV, that is IV, the rest of them are IV, this guy is LUV, autoclaves are LUV, laser is LUV, and that guy is ZPM. So I never had this problem, but apparently all of the machines can work at the same time. Who knew? So everything turned off, I lost a ton of resources, and we have to fix it. And while we are trying to fix it, we might as well do it properly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a plasma turbine. And in order to run that plasma turbine, we need plasma. Are you done with europium? No? Oh my goodness. How much is left? Screw you. I want my plasma. And we have tellurium inside from last episode. It's fine. I just want to make some helium plasma. So that's helium-3. From very old days, we should have, hello, some deuterium here. That's not all. We are also making more deuterium somewhere else. So that's deuterium. And that's my helium. And you should charge up and start working. Cool. Yeah, extra deuterium, I can make more, don't you worry. So that should be my helium plasma in around, I don't know, half an hour. Let's get the turbine. Oh, UV machine hall. Osmium, okay. The plasma turbine was actually very simple to make, however, we needed a data stick. Yeah, this is for the LUV dynamo hatch. Because, you know, I think we're going to generate at least 1 amp of ZPM using plasma. That should be the recipe, and yeah, I have already converted all of my circuits into these any circuit. Makes my job a bit easier. Okay, while the dynamo hatches are being prepared, we have one more thing. So if you guys remember, downstairs we have 2 precise assemblers, right? One of them is basically our multi-block assembler, the other one is the actual precise assembler. Most of my crafting jobs are done inside this assembler, however, it's incredibly slow. I know it's meant to be fast, but for me, it's very slow. If we switch these casings with the precise version, then it's going to do jobs in parallel. If you do jobs in parallel, it means that you're faster and more energy efficient. So, 2 birds with 1 stone. The question is, we can have 44. Okay. Was it 44? Minimum blocks required, 42. Okay. Well, we could have made 44. We can make 42. Hope the power doesn't shut down. Oh, and by the way, helium plasma is incredibly fast. Oops, it was getting full. It's an EV recipe, so you can make it incredibly fast. And deuterium is also not a big deal, you can extract it from hydrogen. My fellow Dark Ones, it has been a while later and there has been some developments. So first off, we have our first plasma turbine and it's making us 1 amp of ZPM. I can't afford better energy hatches. However, if you look at the Lapatronic supercapacitor, you might notice we're actually making more than 1 amp. That is because I have also installed some IV solar panels on top of the roof. I have to fix this building, I know that. But now we can provide energy to this area way more efficiently, and also this guy, the assembler, is just amazing. I mean with the changes. For example, let us make 10 Naquadah coils. Okay, it depends how many items are in the input hatch, but it was doing 4 items every 20 seconds. Trust me, I saw that. Depends on the availability is the thing. Also, this is another problem, Naquadah ingot. We can cook it incredibly fast, and I think we're actually cooking it now. No? Somewhere? Yeah, this guy has the pattern now. Okay. Well, we can cook it incredibly fast, but we can't cool it down fast. So maybe before making the Mega Blast Furnace, we should work on the vacuum freezer. You know, the Mega version. I'm already making the circuits for it. That is for the glass for the blast furnaces. That's the coil. I think we need 1000 more frost-proof machine casings, which I think we can craft. Lovely. That should be decently fast. And I don't really have that many CPUs, but yeah, we can even craft the Mega version. We have all the material. So I'll order it once one of these guys are finished. I can add more CPUs, but later. Oh, and by the way, somebody mentioned to me a few episodes ago that this is not the best way of using plasma, and yeah, I do agree with him. Why is this the wilderness? Oh, that's not chunk loaded, okay. Anyways, that's not the best way of using plasma. The best way of using that is through a heat exchanger, I suppose. because you will get supercritical steam and you can use it in steam turbines. I just wanted to mention this was a temporary solution. I just needed some power here really fast. Also, another thing that he mentioned was that I should use draconium turbines, according to the quest book, instead of HSSE. This is the large turbine that I can make at this very moment. With plasma, it is going to generate between 126,000 to 220,000 EU, with 175% efficiency. The high-speed steel gives you 200,000 EU, with the same efficiency. So why is draconium better? Just the durability? Or maybe there is a hidden thing which gives you more power. I'm not really sure. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. I'll get back to work. I had to assemble the vacuum freezer and we need to supply it with immediate power because my cryogenic freezer is just garbage. The input hatch is full. And my chest is getting full. So as usual, I do have a Lapatronic supercapacitor. It's a garbage capacitor because it's using the IV version. I cannot afford the LUV at this very moment. I just literally threw in anything that I had. And we are also going to try and assemble some turbines. And we are out of turbines. It's fine. Yeah, now it should work fine. Lovely. So obviously plasma is incredibly hot and you should not use potin pipes. My mistake. And we're going to insert everything at a rate of 2 millibuckets per second. That should be more than enough for now. Again, this is a very temporary solution. We don't have that much helium plasma anyways. Yeah, we're generating power. Perfect. And we should get some power. Lovely. That's actually quite decent. So let's also try to hook it up as soon as possible. As a relatively fast fix, we are going to use a few ender chests, just 2 of them. We're gonna break the input bus, pick up all the garbage, and then import it into the vacuum freezer. So oh, you're working. 17 at a time. Oh my goodness, finally. Some speed. Why is it 17 though? Is it like you give it more power, it's gonna work faster? After I fix the power, I will check it, don't you worry. Even though we are processing resources at a decent speed, we still have a bit of a problem. So if you look at the recipe for a mega blast furnace, I need 864 coils. So I'm missing 424 of them. Let's see if we can make it. We're not going to have enough mica because I'm making mica insulators separately. However, the other thing is that we're going to need 1000 glass. And well, it has to be LUV. So far I have 300, I'm making 100 more. But definitely I'm not gonna have enough palladium for it because a very long time ago I made a small boo-boo with our platinum line. But what I wanted to mention was that I can make 1 glass every 7 seconds. So that's already 2 hours for the glass. Long story short, we can't really have 2 blast furnaces today, we can have just the 1. Also, the speed of Nakoto ingot is a bit slow with the mega vacuum freezer. Other ingots are incredibly fast. And it does like 1 stack of them, so it depends on the recipe, I guess. Generally speaking, I hate the word up to. Because it could mean 1, it could mean 256. It's a scam that everybody uses. We also have a chronic shortage of palladium. I think we're almost out. It's okay, I think it's time to remedy the mistake that I made with the platinum line. Because if you look at the subnetwork, we have 128,000 palladium metallic powder. So the mistake I did is that in order to extract palladium, what we need is palladium enriched ammonia. The way that I'm processing it is only this one. So whenever we get platinum, we can extract the palladium. We need to go with this recipe as well. Just mix palladium metallic powder with ammonia. It doesn't really have to be something super fancy. We can even go with a high voltage chemical reactor. Maybe not. After like 50 attempts, there you go. But we have plenty of free channels, I suppose. Yeah, this was a very long time ago, so I didn't really remember how the cables were working, but yeah, apparently we're getting palladium. And now that I wanted to mention it, it's not working. Why? Well, this guy is working, so it should solve my problem. And correct me if I'm wrong, we're losing palladium metallic powder? Yeah, so that should solve our problems in the long run. For our immediate needs, I'm not exactly sure. Worst comes to worst, I just break down these palladium ingots. We smelt them later. So it has been a while and mainly I have been AFK. But if I'm not wrong, we should be almost ready to assemble the blast furnace. That's the last of our coils and that's the last of the glass. Maybe we're missing 5 or 6, I'm not sure. I have the heat-proof thingies, right? Yeah. We also have an extra mega blast furnace controller. Good, because I forgot to pick the other one up. And let us see how would you assemble this thing. It's 15 by 15 by 20. Okay, it's not that horrifying. So the blast furnace is actually impressive. Water is not gonna hit it, right? No, I just tried it with aluminium and it does 4 stacks. It's 4 every second. So this is really worth it. However, we have other work to do as well. We need to hook this guy up to our applied energy 6 system and it shouldn't be here. And yeah, we are going to use a quantum ring. Yeah, we have a single one. Also, this is something that I had absolutely no idea, but apparently you need to activate the quantum link only once. And then it's gonna work on its own? Okay, I did use an energy cell. That seems to work. Do you stay on? Yeah. I didn't know this. This was in the quest book. I thought you actually have to constantly provide it with power. I have set in some patterns for the Mega Blast Furnace. Of course, it's not complete and it has to be optimized. Because for example, currently what I'm doing is that I'm making osmoiridium and it's only doing 4 ingots. It doesn't really make sense to waste that much processing power on that Mega Blast Furnace. Maybe we should do it over here? Because I can change the coil and energy hatches on this one way faster than the Mega Blast Furnaces. But that's something that I have to figure out a bit later. Oh, and by the way, what I have done is that for cabling, I'm also using a sub network. I have set the patterns that they don't really require the hot ingot. So if I want to order osmoiridium, it doesn't have the hot ingot in its recipe, right? It just takes everything from the output hash of the blast furnace and distributes it according to the filters that I'm setting up. It does save on a teeny tiny bit of processing. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's also a good time to wrap up the episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next one, bye bye.